She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.
What's up, icons? It's the iconic fashion figure back with a new video. And if you guys didn't hear, I'm starting a podcast. Yes, I had talked about it in previous videos how I'm getting ready to start a podcast. It's Pep Rally by Fashion Formula 101. And I don't really know much about starting a podcast other than I listen to podcasts on a daily basis, but starting one, I've learned a lot so far. So today I'm going to share with you guys what I've learned so far, where I am in the process of getting started with this podcast, and how things are going so far. So as I mentioned, if you don't know, well, now you know. No, I'm joking with you guys, but yes, I'm starting a podcast, Pep Rally by Fashion Formula 101, where it's basically going to be a motivational podcast for entrepreneurs, because we all know how difficult it can be to start a business, or if you haven't started yet, you're in for a whirlwind, because you're going to find out about all the ups and downs of starting a business and running a business in general. So Pep Rally by Fashion Formula 101 is to help you keep going and keep you motivated. Just like at a pep rally, it's there to hype you guys up. So one of the first things I learned when researching on starting my podcast is that you need a host to start a podcast. So just like a website, you have to have a host for a website. For whatever reason, I thought I was about to record and edit these podcasts and then just upload it to like Apple Podcast, and that was gonna be it. But no, there are actually hosts out there that of course you have to pay for, although there are some free hosts that I've noticed, but some of the benefits are missing there. And if I'm putting in this much of my time and effort, time is money, especially nowadays for me, I want to make sure the host that I choose is going to really do what I need it to do. So there's a bunch of hosts out there like Buzzsprout, Podbean, Audio Boom. There's like a list of them. There's a ton of them out there that you can choose from. There's a couple that I've been looking at more specifically for me that meets my needs, but there's a whole list out there, and I'll link them down in the description box for those of you that are interested or looking into starting a podcast. You can start looking and comparing the different podcast hosts that are out there. So now that I've kind of figured out what host I wanted to go with for my podcast, I started looking at places of where I can showcase my podcast, because I'm used to just listening on Apple Podcasts just because I have iPhone, I have Mac, I have an iPad. All my devices are Apple, so that's usually where I listen to my podcast. But of course, for Android users, you have Google, where you can listen to podcasts there. What is it like? It's called Google Podcast, I think. Just like Apple Podcasts is Google Podcasts, I believe. But then you have like Spotify actually plays podcasts. I think Pandora even plays podcasts now. You have iHeartRadio that also plays podcasts. There's so many different places where you can showcase your podcast so you can reach a wide audience. And of course, that's always the goal. When you put this much time and energy into something, you want to try to reach as many people as possible. So I'm going to make sure I'm on every single platform that's available for podcast. You guys might even see some of it. I don't even know if those are the right terms, because technically a podcast you listen to. But here on YouTube, on this platform, I'm going to find a way to reach you guys as well, so that way you don't have to go through a million different platforms. But if you already have your special platform for podcasts, I can almost guarantee you'll hear me there. And then as far as the equipment, because of course there's always some type of investment of everything that I tend to do, and for whatever reason I can't just go cheap. So I already have microphones that I use for YouTube, but of course I had to buy a microphone separate just for recording my podcast. So this one's connected to my computer right now. Well, actually this one's always connected to my computer because it does not connect to a camera. I end up getting the Samsung Q9U or something like that, whatever it's called, because after doing reviews, I compared it to some other ones. This was a pretty decent one. It wasn't the cheapest, but then it wasn't the most expensive, so it saved me a little and it gets the job done. I can't go into details about specs and all that because I'm not an expert podcaster just yet. I'm still learning myself, so to be able to tell you this one over that one, I watched YouTube videos until I figured out which one worked best for me. Then this little shield thingy on the front, I had to order separately, and as well as the stand, because when I ordered it, it was only the mic, nothing else. I still have to find the right headset for when I'm recording so that way I can hear myself. That's always really nice to have. That's actually one of the good things about doing a podcast over YouTube, is I can really hear myself, because because like when I'm recording right now for you guys, I'm usually unsure of if you can hear me or not, how loud I am I too loud? And you guys have probably seen in some of my videos where I say, I'm not sure if you guys can hear this because I'm too far back or anything like that. Well, at least with this, I can have my headset on so I can hear what I sound like. So for the equipment that I purchased so far, you guys already know I got it off Amazon, and I'll link it down in the description box for you. The only other thing that I have is the software that I use to edit, which I've been using Adobe Audition just because you guys know I use Adobe products as far as like my business and for YouTube. So Adobe Audition comes with the package that I already have for the cloud service that I'm paying for every month. So I've been using that software too. I don't know if that's the right software for me or if I want to try some other ones, because I know there's a bunch of those out there as well that I can use, but I've just kind of been testing the waters to figure out what's best for me so far. So now into the creative part of the podcast. Of course, I've been writing down list after list of different ideas of what I want to talk to you guys about. I just need to figure out a schedule of how often I actually want to post, because I don't want to overdo it where I overwhelm myself, but I want to make sure I can be consistent with it. I've already come up with the name, which I've mentioned to you guys, Pep Rally by Fashion Formula 101, so that is done. I'm in the process of creating that little icon, so of course I have to do a photo shoot for this. You guys know I love doing photo shoots, so yes, I'll be doing one for that. Will I actually be putting my face on it? Who knows? I'm still deciding that. I always, when I come up with different icons and logos and stuff, which I've shown you guys a basic icon and I'll show you again, but when I come up with these different icons, I always create several of them, usually give myself like 4 or 5 options to choose from, and then I narrow down on which one I like the most. So maybe at some point I'll post a poll or something on YouTube for you guys to see my different options, and I'll let you guys help me choose which one looks the best. And then for the next creative part, which I am struggling with, so maybe you guys can help me out, I need to come up with the intro for my podcast. For those of you that listen to podcasts, you guys know that most podcasters usually have the same intro in every episode that you tend to hear. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I haven't created anything yet, but I know it needs to be hyped and exciting. It has to be full of energy because this is a pep rally, but I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. You would think this would be easy for me, especially since I was a cheerleader. I should know how to pep up a crowd, but I don't know what I want to do in this intro yet, so I'm still trying to figure it out, and I have to find the right music for it. But if you guys have been following my YouTube journey from the beginning, you can see that my intro on YouTube has changed quite a few times because I would never finish it. I always had this vision in mind and then would never complete it. I will always use a placement intro and say, okay, I'm gonna finish it for next video, and before you know, like a whole year goes by with this temporary intro. But now I finally put an intro on there that's pretty decent, that I actually like. No one's made any comments about it yet, so I'm assuming it's okay. You guys haven't said anything negative, so I'm gonna stick with that intro for YouTube for now. But now I need to come up with something for Pep Rally. What am I gonna do for Pep Rally now? And then I know you guys are all probably wondering, okay, you put in all this time and energy and effort into creating a podcast. How do you get paid for this? Or are you just doing this for free? There are ways to monetize a podcast, and it's usually with commercials and ads. And that's one of the reasons I said I want to make sure I choose the right host, because a lot of your hosts that are available will help you to get those ads and commercials that you need to make money. Because basically people are going to pay you to run your ads, similar to like radio. That's how radio used to do, where they would pay someone to play their ads on their radio station. Sometimes they have it pre-recorded where you would just play their recording, but a lot of time they have the podcaster speak out the ads themselves in your own voice on your podcast. So they would give you the script and you have to read it off. So you can, through your host, find some different ads and commercials that way, but then make sure you always have some type of contact so that people can contact you directly if they want to run their ad on your podcast. That's usually how you would monetize your podcast, and then of course with sponsorships and such. So now that I've got all of that figured out, the only thing I need to do now is just start recording, because I pretty much got it all done except for the intro, but that's always something I can edit back in towards the end once my episodes are recorded. But now I just need to start recording, and I'm really just trying to get in the feel of this, see how I really like it, trying to figure out my posture, because that always makes a difference when you're recording. Am I too close? Do I need to take a step back? Am I too far back? How loud I need to talk? This is something I'm still trying to get comfortable with. With YouTube, it took me a few tries before I actually got used to that. So I know with with podcasting is going to be the same way, but at some point I'm going to get used to this too, and you guys are going to see that journey along the way for those of you that follow me from the very first episode until who knows how long. But that's it for this video. I just wanted to talk about the podcast that I'm getting ready to start because it's something I'm doing right now, something I'm excited about, and I want to share it in case some of you guys are interested in starting your own podcast. And then I also know there's quite a few of you that just like to see my journey and what I'm doing. You guys like to know what's going on with me. So that is it, and thank you guys for watching.